95.3 WBCK now presents Coach's Corner, live from Lakeview Ford. For over 6 decades, this has been your #1 source for all local sports information. Coach's Corner is proudly presented by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now, here's your host, Bill Broderick.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, in the big chair once again on WBCK for Coach's Corner in downtown Battle Creek at Lakeview Ford on the Motor Mile. For more than 6 decades, Coach's Corner has been talking to the city high school coaches about the week in sports, and we will continue that as we head into another week of the boys basketball season with our first Coach of the Morning. But first, here's the Lakeview Ford Coach's Corner scoreboard. Among the city games and Tuesday action, Penfield went on the road in non-conference clash and lost to Olivet 65-44. Lakeview had a home game and jumped out to an early lead and beat Wyoming Kelloggsville 66-41. The game that was delayed thanks to Davis Barr dunk that broke the rim. That was the talk of the town a little bit for midweek, and you can read all about that and the fun story we had on the BattleCreekEnquirer.com. Harbor Creek also earned a non-conference win, topping Sturgis 61-36. And also on Tuesday, Battle Creek Central lost to Charlotte. Last night and Friday night action in our Enquirer game of the week, Bellevue held off an upset-minded St. Philip team to win 55-49. It was Bellevue's 47th straight league victory. Lakeview earned its best win of the season, knocking off league-leading Kalamazoo Central 72-50. Also in the SMAC, Loy Norks beat Battle Creek Central 67-53. In Interstate 8 conference play, Harbor Creek lost to Jackson Northwest 66-55. And Penfield win against the league leaders. Parma Western had a lead late in the third quarter but fell short and lost 48-45. We will be back with our first Coach of the Morning after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
Bill Broderick, Battle Creek Enquirer, back on Coach's Corner, here with our first Coach of the Morning, Coach Burns at Penfield Panthers. How's it going, Coach?
Good morning, Bill. Doing well.
We had Penfield had a full week in front of them this week. They started off with a game against Olivet. Olivet was a team that Penfield used to play pretty regularly a lot of times to open the season back in the day, and haven't faced them for a couple of years. Before we get into that game, were the guys kind of excited to renew that rivalry a little bit with Olivet?
Yeah, they were pretty excited. Again, since we haven't played them a couple of years, I don't think any of these guys, have faced them in the high school level. So, it's a nice local rivalry. Back to the old KVA days where they'd see each other twice a season, and then even when we went over to I-8, we'd still be able to get them non-conference both football and basketball. But last few years haven't been able to play them, so schedules just didn't align. So they're excited to get back into this little rivalry.
Yeah, Olivet has joined a league in the Lansing area, and actually it's the first year for them in this year. They picked up their schedule a little bit that way and played a little tougher schedule, and you guys are involved in that. And you guys fell short against Olivet. Olivet started fast, and they ended up winning 65-44. And in that game, it was a little bit of something that's been hampering you guys lately. It's something you guys kind of have to shake a little bit as you go down the stretch here. Turnovers hurt you early and put you down early and put you in kind of a hole that you really couldn't climb out of.
Yeah, and that's not a new thing. It's not something that's lately been happening. It's been our bugaboo for the whole season. Is when we're not focused coming into a game, we tend to get kind of frazzled and struggle with turnovers, and then that hit us again. Tuesday night. We had the week off, and looking back, I don't think we handled that preparation very well. I think we're a competitively immature team, and so having a week off, coming into it broke the cycle that we had been in, and so we didn't come ready.
Those early turnovers, you had 9 turnovers in the first quarter, and then got down. You're down 20-6 the first few minutes of the second quarter. Made a little bit of a run there, and got back a little bit closer, 29-18 by halftime. But Olivet hit a couple threes to start the second half to kind of pull away. Olivet wants to pressure you and create those turnovers, but they weren't really getting you in the full court. You guys seem to be handling the full court pressure a little bit, bringing the ball up. It was kind of in the half court where you had a little struggle getting into your half court sets, and deflections a little bit on passes that couldn't get to the post. I think ended up being the key there, and would start Olivet going the other way.
Yeah, exactly. I thought we handled their press well. We've worked pretty hard on that over the season and have handled press as well. But half court set, and that was just a lack of focus of not going to the ball and not being strong with the ball. I think there were 22 deflections in the game total, and so again that means and not all deflections turned into turnovers, but it slows things down, and just the fluidity of the offense was not there in the half court set Tuesday night.
Olivet has an all-state guard on their side, a 4-year varsity player, so a lot of experience for them. Bo Lincoln, he had 24 points in that game, including 3 triples. He's a little bit of a handful. You guys had a well-rounded game. Brevin Bailey, who's been consistent for you, had 14 points. Calvin Pazans had 11 and 8 rebounds. And I really like the way that Jonathan Lake played in the paint, and I've seen him a couple times here lately. His footwork in the paint is improving as a young player, and he had 10 points and 6 rebounds. And there's some things to take away from that game, but falling short in a non-conference game against Olivet, you guys had to kind of bounce back a little bit and get ready for Friday night.
Yeah, yep. Brevin had a little bit of foul trouble the first half, so we didn't see him for most of the first half. Came back and the second half played really aggressive, and he's been playing aggressive offensively for us last few games, and we need him to. And then Calvin and Johnny have been consistent for us, for the better part of the season. So, those are guys that we need to continue to see be productive for us. Short turnaround allowed us to get back in kind of the normal routine, knowing that back in the conference play, and that we had a good opportunity to see Parma come in our place last night. We needed to put that behind us and be ready to go.
Parma Western came in leading the league in the Interstate 8 Conference, and that was going to be a handful for you guys to begin with, but you guys came out firing in that game, and Penfield had a lead, a 36-27 lead at the end of the third quarter, and it looked like it was going to be upset city for the Panthers. You guys going to pull one off and knock off the league leaders and put a smile on everyone else's face in the league to put a dent in their schedule. But Parma Western had a big fourth quarter and came back and won that game. Tell us what happened there early in the game to get that lead, and then what you guys were doing well.
Yeah, we had a really good start in the first quarter. A good start. Zach Walling came out and really played well for us in the first quarter, hit some shots. Johnny got into a little bit of foul trouble in the second quarter, so we had to sit a lot so we kind of bogged down offensively in the second quarter. Ended up going down in halftime, down 1. But the key to the whole pregame stuff was just focus, and it's just an easy word, but so many things can be affected by it if we're not, and that's kind of seems to be our MO is when we focus and are locked in, we can be productive. And we were for that first half, and we came out, went into halftime feeling good. Came out and played a great third quarter. Offensively moving the ball, guys hitting shots. And defensively, again, we were locked in, knowing what we needed to do, and played well all the way through, three quarters. Hit the fourth quarter. We knew they were going to take a run. And I think there was a little bit of mental and physical fatigue that the guys kind of experienced last night.
Yeah, you've had a lot of third quarter leads that we've talked about over the last several weeks in Coach's Corner here. And then the fourth quarter hasn't been kind to you, and it wasn't again last night. When that starts going the wrong way, is there a mental block there, like you talked about the mental fatigue, but also something where, we've been through this before, and What are we going to do about it this time?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some of that setting in, and it's our job to try to kind of overcome that and not allow those thoughts to be coming. The guys were positive all the way through. We were tied at 40. Brevin had a breakaway dunk, and so that kind of got everybody's spirits up again. And they got a guard, Maverick Hammond, who was a very good shooter, and he was hitting last night. He comes down and hits a 28-footer to give them the lead for good, 43-42. So, they made shots at the end. We had some open looks and didn't quite see our shots go through. Parham hit some good shots in the fourth quarter.
Zach Walling had 13 points in that game. Jonathan Lake, a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds, and a well-rounded game for Brevin Bailey. Once again, 9 points, 7 assists, and 3 steals. And Parma Western stays undefeated in the league at 7-0, and they go 11-4 overall. And Penfield ends up, now you're going to be looking towards next week. Talk about a couple of games for next week. You're back non-conference, but staying at home against Paw Paw in midweek. And then a big game that has become a rivalry for Penfield next Friday, playing at Marshall. So talk about that week a little bit for you.
Yeah, excited to come up this week. Another non-conference game at home, and then back in the conference play Friday. Talk to the guys after the game. We did focus for 32 minutes. We had a good night last night. But that means nothing if we don't come in tomorrow and practice well. And if we come in Monday and don't practice well, then Sunday and Friday don't mean well. So we've got to start packing these things together and get some of that consistency so we can roll into Paw Paw, have a good outing, build off of that, and then have a good practice a couple of days and come into Marshall. So if we can continue building on the effort and the focus that we had last night, we're feeling pretty good about this week and where we'll go for the rest of the few weeks that we have left.
Yeah, not looking past Paw Paw or anything, but Marshall's always a fun one to circle on the calendar, and then they bring a little bit of a challenge with their size. The fact that they can shoot the ball from outside also with those big guys, and but you guys seem to match up well with them, and you got to figure if you're doing the things that you guys want to do that it could be a good night for Penfield.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, we'll see Paw Paw Tuesday and then look for Friday, and we enjoy going over there. It's a fun environment, again, close trip, and so it should be a good night. It's always a good competitive games with Marshall the last few years.
We'll look forward to talking about that game next week. And Coach's Corner again with Coach Burns. Thanks a lot, Coach, for coming on down. We back with our next Coach in the morning here after this break on 95.3 WBCK FM.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
And we're back with our next Coach of the morning here, Coach Matt Bowling of the Harbor Creek Beavers. How's it going, Coach?
Good morning, Bill.
Harbor Creek had a full week itself this week. Started off a non-conference game against Sturgis, a team that used to be on the schedule every year back in the day in the Old Twin Valley, but only see every once in a while nowadays. But you were able to snap your 4-game losing skid and knock off Sturgis, win 61-36. You guys led big at halftime, 29-17. Talk about what went right that early on against Sturgis and kind of setting the momentum and setting the tone.
Our pressure defense was pretty good that on Tuesday night. Our effort was good. We talked about, again, it'd be a kind of conflicting styles game, and whoever could control tempo would have an advantage. And our pressure, if we didn't turn them over, it sped them up, and that's what we were hoping we would do, is get them to play faster than what they were accustomed to. And that's kind of how that went. We got them playing fast, which was an advantage for us. And then once we had the lead, it's definitely hard for them to play the tempo they want to play when you're playing catch-up.
And with your team, with your young team, the way they are set up there, when things are going right, that really feeds on itself. I know you guys get excited when you guys are playing that way and playing up tempo and getting some deflections and getting some fast breaks, and your guys really feed on that, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of momentum that night, and we shot the ball well. We shot the ball 36% from behind the arc, so that was a pretty good night for us shooting behind the arc. And like I said, we played tempo, and we had 10 different guys score, so we had a lot of balance, so you couldn't just key on one guy. So it was a good night for us.
We had Traquan Cotton leading the Beavers with 11 points. Brady Vetty had 9. Another well-rounded game, and in a game like that, and getting points from all over the roster. How important is that in those kind of games?
Well, that was nice. It was good for everybody's confidence, and to see the ball go in and to play well together. And you develop a lot more trust, and when the ball's moving and you see it go in from a lot of different spots.
Guys, move forward and play an Interstate 8 game on last night. Played Jackson Northwest. It's a team that you had beaten the first time around early in the season. Got one of your league wins early. Jackson Northwest came in and looking to avenge that a little bit, and they came away with a 66-55 win. Jackson Northwest has been a little hot lately. They won 4 of their last 5 games in the league, kind of turned things around. What was different with Jackson Northwest from the first time around?
Well, I think the first time around we were a step quicker early, and we kind of set the tempo, and we played well that night, hit some shots, and we were just more aggressive. I think last night in the first half that flipped. I mean, they were extremely aggressive. Kid that we did a pretty good job on the first time that we played them had 27 last night, kind of an X factor for them. Now he hadn't been real consistent, but I mean, we had to just survive the first half because I thought they played really well. They shot the ball well. Like I said, they were a step quicker. They were the aggressor the first half. And then we didn't handle that real well at times. We turned the ball over in transition, doing, which I liked. We were trying to be aggressive, push it back at them. But we went in down 15 at halftime. We talked about we needed to be the aggressor. We needed to be a little tougher and at the same time be patient, if that makes sense. So we came out and we had a really good third quarter. We just talked about chipping away, and I think we had that thing early in the fourth down to 3 or 4, and they went on another run. We had a great third quarter. We scored 24 points, and then they answered our run in the fourth quarter, and they ended at 10, but it was pretty. It was a 2-possession game there for a while, and we just couldn't get over that 2-possession hump.
That third quarter, coming out on fire there and rolling for a while. You mentioned a couple of things that were going well for you. The idea that you can put the first half behind you and flip the page a little bit. You had to like that as a coach, I imagine, because you don't always see that every time.
Right, and I reminded our kids that this isn't the first time that's happened there where they've had a great first half against us, and we've come back and we've had success in the second half and ended up winning the game. We referenced a couple of years that happened, and it can happen again. We just got to stay the course, and we were there. I was very proud of our kids. Like I said, I was pleased. We hit some shots. We turned them over. We got them playing a little faster and a little more erratic, and climbed right back in it. But we were 6 of 12 at the free throw line last night when we needed them most. They seemed to just not fall for us at the line. But I'm proud of our kids. Disappointed at a little bit how we handled the first half, just based on turnovers. But I told them that was just that's basketball. We found a way to survive and climb our way back in, but when we got back into it, we just needed that 1 or 2 more extra plays, and they just didn't come.
Brady Vetty, again, had 12 points for you. Davion Roy had 12 points also. You're looking for some other points from other places a little bit to kind of get you over the hump there a little bit. Doesn't feel like you can count on one guy every time. Is that not necessarily a bad thing, or you're hoping for a little bit more?
Well, it would be nice to get a little bit of consistency, but I tell you what, Brady Vetty's had an outstanding year, and he's been great for us of late. Great young man, been playing good basketball, and even a better person than he is, and better leader than he is a basketball player, which is really cool to say. But yeah, some consistency on some from some other guys would be nice, and but that's just kind of the team we have, is that we can pick each other up, and when those situations arise. So that's nice too. So it's just kind of when you're going into it, you just kind of know who you know your rotational pieces and how you're going to rotate. It's just a matter of who you're going to rotate for. Yeah. So that's just kind of how we do that.
Coming up, looking forward to this week. Another week where you have like a non-conference midweek game, and then you go back to the conference at the end of the week. Playing a Vicksburg team, I believe that's on a Monday this week.
Yeah, we play Monday night this week, so it'll be quick.
Back home and starting a string of 5 straight home games to end the season after being on the road a ton in the middle of the year here. Vicksburg, the non-conference game, and then Hastings at home again on Friday. Talk about this week and what you're looking forward to and what you have to kind of get accomplished.
Well, I mean, Vicksburg, they're having a decent year. They're about 500. They played a lot of close ball games, close one with Penfield, close one with Coldwater, like 1 point, 2 point games. So, I mean, they're battle tested. I think that'll be a competitive game for us, but hopefully we, again, get to dictate and we come out the aggressor. And Friday, same thing. We kind of have to be the aggressor. We'll see Hastings runs a lot of dribble drive and some handoffs and things like that. And we, again, if we can get tempo, get them playing our style, that's the key to the week for me this week. And then, again, as always, we need to make a few shots, or especially early from the perimeter, and to help get us going, especially on Monday.
A Monday game can be a challenge. You're coming in. It seems like it almost feels like the gym is kind of cold, and you coming off a weekend, and you're playing on a Monday. What do you do as a coach to kind of get ready for a Monday game?
Well, we're going to go in tomorrow and prep. We'll have practice, so maybe throwing a little film with that practice. We'll see, but we'll try to practice and get ourselves in the best situation we can to be prepared for that game on Monday. And get up and down a little bit tomorrow, and like I said, knock some of that weekend rust off real quick, and then go from there.
It's not bad to play a Monday game because you have to do those in the district. So it's
right.
Right.
It's not a big deal unless I think we kind of make it a big deal. Right. So as long as we come in to work tomorrow, and the kids have been a great practice team. They come in and they know what it's like to work, and they get after it. And our practice habits are outstanding.
Well, we'll look forward to talking about both those games next week when we reconvene at Coach's Corner. Thanks a lot, Coach, for coming on down. We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning here on WBCK 95.3.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
We're back with our next Coach of the Morning here. We're here with Coach Kimber of the St. Phil Fighting Tigers. How's it going, Coach?
Morning, Bill.
St. Phil had a light week. You only played one, but it was a big one. You guys had Bellevue at home, and it was our Enquirer game of the week last night. And playing at Sheila Guerra Gymnasium, which had a nice crowd with in that rivalry game where Bellevue and St. Phil like to kind of go after each other. And St. Phil came in looking to knock off the big dogs in the conference there. Bellevue came in, had won 46 straight league games, and the numbers just keep going after that. They've won 7 straight seasons with 20 or more wins. They've won the league title 7 straight times. But Bellevue, all along, even though they're 12-1 now, has seemed like they're a team that you can get this year. They lost their best player in the preseason, but they seem to continue to find a way to win. St. Phil thought they had a way to win last night because you led them for 80% of that game, end up losing 55-49. First question, what happened?
I think what happened is, Bellevue, they're a quality opponent. I mean, I thought we had them all. I mean, we did have them all night long for pretty much the most part, but we knew going into the fourth quarter up 7 that they were going to punch back. We just didn't know how loud that punch was going to be. They hit some shots in the fourth quarter that they weren't hitting all game. I can't get names right, but both Payne brothers hit shots big. One hit a 3, and then the other one hit a couple elbow jumpers. But the Payne 3 was huge, and then Betts hit a 3 on the wing. That was huge. They only made 3 threes all night, and the 2 came in the fourth quarter, one being the tire and one to take the lead, and those were some backbreakers, but I really don't think we did anything too poorly to the point where we could say we blew it. I think they just kind of took it. I mean, we had a couple costly turnovers there in the middle of the fourth quarter when they were on that little run to get back into it. But overall, I think it was more of just they got real hot in the fourth quarter, and we weren't seeing the shots go down that were going down in the first three segments.
Those first three quarters went really well for St. Phil. It's some of the best basketball I've seen St. Phil play this year, and that goes back to a complete turnaround from the first time you saw Bellevue. You played Bellevue over at their place and lost on one side of the game, and actually were down 25-9 at one point, and kind of wondering how you're going to match up with them this time around. And then you came out on fire. Your guys were real confident early on. Really were taking it to Bellevue early, up 16-7 right before the end of the first quarter on a nice drive by Lincoln Deswick, and then you're up 22-13 with 1:25 left in the half, and even though Bellevue made a little bit of a surge and got back to 22-20 by halftime, you guys came out in the third quarter, didn't let that stop you, and went on another little run, and seemed to be back in command of the game, up 30-24 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. The Diswick boys all kind of taking a little piece of that themselves. Carter hit a three, and Jackson hit a driving layup. He has a nice little running layup on the side where he hits the backboard from the very extreme side and kind of skips it in there. That way he has a nice shot that way. And things really had to be feeling good at that point. What did you like during those first three quarters that were going well for you?
Well, we talked all week about, they're bigger than us. They're a little bit more physical than us because they have that size. And our kind of Achilles heel all year has been giving up second chance opportunities. And so we really stressed all week about limiting those second chance opportunities. And I know we talked about it last night after the game, but Lincoln Diswick, he came ready to play. That dude was like, when it came to rebounds, he was a bull in a china shop. He was getting everything. I didn't get to finish my film last night with stats, but I got far enough to find out he had a double-double, which I want to say will be his first of his career. But he's one of those dudes who's been coming on strong. I think I said last week or the week before here that he's a kid who's really starting to take off, and that teams are going to have to start preparing for, or else it's going to be costly because he gets to his spots on the offensive end, and last year he was getting to his spots, he just wasn't finishing them, and now he's finishing them. So it's kind of like we're seeing the kid take that next stride right in front of our eyes, and it's awesome to watch. And he's our energy guy. I told you that when we were talking about the segment for the paper this week. The amount of energy he brings every day in every game, it's like he almost brings that playoff energy every game, and we love that. But also Carter had a good game. We've kind of been starting to move him into the point guard role because the way he sees the court is just exceptional, and he's a pretty good ball handler. And I like Jackson and Colt being more on the wings because they can be more aggressive when they're on the wings instead of being like the guy who's got to dish it out. But Jack, he played pretty well last night. I mean, he's still for his standards, still a little cold from the outside. We actually, me and my assistants, we'd been talking about how do we get Jack a breather because he's been playing 32 minutes a game, and this week we kind of put in a defensive lineup just to kind of look at it and just kind of see what it would look like. And so start the second half, Jack had a little bit of cold hands, so I'm like, all right, we'll give him a 1 minute breather here to get out of the half, maybe settle him in. And he answered big time in the third quarter, and he got some steals. I mean, he was aggressive as ever. So really, really proud of the way the kids fought. But yeah, to go back on it, I can't say enough about Lincoln Deswick right now. That kid, I mean, I see it in practice almost every day, but that last night was something I have not seen.
That's good. Yeah, on the Bellevue side, Carson Betts has been leading them all year round. Caleb, yeah. he had 18 points, but he had to fight for all those 18 points. I think that's probably your game plan. You guys play a little zone against them in general, and they were passing the ball around, trying to get the ball inside that zone, but making sure that he wasn't hurting you a little bit had to be a part of the plan. although the Payne brothers with their size each had a 12, kind of dinged you there a little bit. But talk about trying to make them work for their points. That was big for you, right?
Yeah, Caleb's one of those kids that I've personally known for a long time. I've gotten the opportunity to work with him quite a bit in the gym over his last few years. And so it was kind of like a little insider trading moment. I knew everything about him. I know what his tendencies are, and so that really helped us be able to scheme up a game plan on him. And it looked like he was affected early on. He told me he was affected early on, but he's just one of those ball players that's going to keep going and keep going. He was definitely the focal point of our defensive outlook. The Payne brothers, that's twice now against us this year that they've kind of just dinged us. I was comfortable early on with letting that elbow jump shot go to try to, get more rebounds. And so have a little soft closeout on that elbow jump shot. But really just get the box outs. I don't know the difference between their names, but the bigger of the two Paynes, he had a couple of those elbow jumpers in the fourth quarter that he hadn't been hitting all game, and then we had to kind of start coming out and getting it when it was a tighter game, and so that kind of opened up some opportunities for them to go in a little bit lower into the post.
Lincoln and Jackson each had 17 for you. Carter had 12, and now St. Phil gets ready for next week. And you guys are pulling up the schedule here. You guys have Jackson Christian coming up on Tuesday, and then a Mendon game on Thursday at home, and getting those Tuesday, Thursday games for you there. Talk about that challenge there and what you have looking forward to this week.
Yeah, I haven't seen much Jackson Christian yet. I mean, I have a lot of film on everybody, but I haven't had an opportunity to take a look at him. Saw him play against Calvin Christian earlier in the year. We're on the road at their place. It's a challenge every time you go on the road in our conference, and so that's a good challenge. And then Mendon, they're a good ball club. We beat them by 14-15 first time down at their place early in December. So that'll be a challenging one. But I looked at our schedule. I don't really look at it as from a long standpoint, but I looked at it last night just to take a peek at it, and I really like our February schedule leading into districts and everything. So. Yeah, hopefully we have a great month. But this week it's just nice to have some regularity of 2 games in a week instead of just having that one, because this week was extremely long waiting for this game on Friday night. And so I like having the 2 games at least a week.
And you talked about a little bit last night about how a game, that Bellevue game last night, can maybe get you ready for districts. And it's never too early to start looking forward to that. And you guys want to be playing good basketball against good teams when it comes district time, and being a real competitive game back and forth against a really good team like Bellevue. That has to help and give you some thoughts about what you might be able to do in districts. Is that right?
Yeah, no, we definitely talked about that after the game. It was just like, the loss stings, don't get me wrong, but not all losses are bad. You can grow from it. I think last night's loss is going to prove to our kids that we're right there. We are almost where we need to be come playoff time, and it's a little bit earlier than I thought the peak would come, but we are right there, and I think that's going to give them some momentum in practice and in the mental aspect of it, because they know they're right there, and we know our district really well, and I know those guys are fired up for that. But we got to take care of business first in this month. But yeah, I think this is losses suck, but I think this is a good building block, because I think it's going to bring this team more together, and they're going to be more hungry than ever.
Well, we'll look forward to that. Next big week for St. Phil coming up here, and 2 games, and we'll talk a little more about that next week when we get back together. We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning here in 95.3 WBCK.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
We're back with our next Coach of the Morning here with Coach Steve Wickman of Lakeview Spartans. How's it going, Coach?
Bill, it's great. It's going great.
It's great. You had a great week this week.
Yes.
It was a fun week for Lakeview all the way around, and a couple of nice games to talk about for different reasons here. We'll jump right in. On Tuesday, you played a non-conference game and played Wyoming Kellogg'sville, and you won 66-41. The score is kind of burying the lead. Something you and I talked about midweek. We had a delay in that game. We had a Davis Barr dunk, then he broke the rim, and well, that had put a buzz through the Lakeview High School for a couple of days. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. That thing kind of blew up. With the we talked about this before, but the social media thing now, something like that happens and it becomes real big news real quick. So Davis was kind of the mayor of the school for a day or two, and he was loving it, and well deserved. He's a great kid. He's worked really hard this year, and I'm really happy for him to have any success. But for him to be kind of like I said, the mayor for a couple of days was pretty cool.
Well, that was fun to talk about. We had a fun little story in the Enquirer about that, and getting kids talking about that. That's kind of cool, and you don't see that very often. But the score, that was a non-conference game that you guys jumped out early and led 17-5 after the first quarter, and went on to roll from there. And you guys have played really well in non-conference games this year. You're 4-0 in non-conference games, and talk about that a little bit. Playing someone not in your conference, someone you don't see all the time, but your guys get up for them, and that can be key because sometimes that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic when you're playing a team or multiple teams. In this case, when you don't have a natural rivalry with, or you don't see every year necessarily. And Kellogg'sville is kind of like that. I mean, last year's the first time we played them, and then the return game this year. So it's nice when you have senior-led team and they don't really worry about any of that stuff as much. They just want to play as well as they can, and I think we got some guys that do a great job of leading by example and just getting out there and giving the effort that it takes to beat anybody on any night.
With the one-sided game, you had a lot of different scorers in that game, and some of the guys stepped up for you big, and that was nice to see you. Maddox Bishop, which doesn't always lead you in scoring, had 15 points and 8 rebounds. Nice game for him. And Davis Barr had 13 points, and Jake Harchek had 12, and the team high 9 rebounds and 5 assists. It's good to see some different names there in the leading scorers there. That's what you want to see as a coach, right?
Absolutely. I was really, really pleased for Maddox. He's kind of becoming a little bit of a beast right now. Like, he's really I don't know. I think we had a little talk just a couple weeks ago about the urgency of being a senior, and it's February. I guess it wasn't a couple weeks ago, it was last week, but it's February, and this thing's going to end at some point. Whether it ends at the Breslin Center or it ends in Gull Lakes Gym or whatever, at some point this is going to be done, and as a senior you're going to wish you could keep going, and so I think since then our last 3 or 4 games, Maddox has just been really, really tough and physical, and I think he felt like he had an advantage on Tuesday, and he took advantage of that advantage.
We move forward to Friday's game, which is a lot of fun for you guys. You guys played a Kalamazoo Central team that took it to you in December. You lost by 20 to Kalamazoo Central the first time, and they're the big boys in the SMAC and have been for several years. And that name Kalamazoo Central can mean something, and a 20-point loss can mean also something that the kids had to be coming in. Maybe you kind of wonder what their mental place was going to be. But you said last night you really liked how they came into that game, and they came in and they really took care of Kalamazoo Central. You won 72-50 and a complete turnaround from the first time around. And you said it kind of started from the beginning with their confidence.
Yeah, I in the locker room before the game, they were just, the guys were really locked in, but they weren't quiet and tight. They were just, they were their normal selves, and more than one of them was like, I'm just really ready to go and ready, and so that gives you a good feeling as a coach. You never know. I've never been a guy that dictates how kids act, like you got to sit and be quiet or what, that's just how I am. But when you're like that, then you have to deal with how they act sometimes, and sometimes they're not ready. But I had that sense that they were really, really ready, really locked in, and we just took it to them early. Took the ball from the first 2 or 3 possessions and scored layups, and I think the way we jumped on them early, and then we had a nice crowd and it was a good atmosphere, and I think everybody, it was kind of like a perfect storm.
And you had mentioned that you lost by 20 to Kalamazoo Central the first time, but it really wasn't a 20-point game. You guys were within 4 in the fourth quarter, and maybe that gave you guys some confidence that you knew you could play with them. You just let the game get away last time, and that showed early. Probably you guys were up 28-5 in the first quarter last night, and still up double digits at halftime. And you really got the feeling that Lakeview knew that they could play with these guys, and given the chance that they were going to get this win.
Yeah, I think over there we played 3 good quarters, and I think that gave our guys some confidence. In the fourth quarter, we really self-destructed in the fourth quarter, and I think they remembered that. And that there's, when you go through a whole season like this, there's a lot of different moments that you can look back on. And I think after that game, that was one of those moments where we had the conversation about, this is, you guys are going to win together and lose together. So we can't implode like this. We can't start pointing fingers and things like that. And so the confidence was there to play with them. And then, there's another step in having the confidence to know that you can beat them. And so we, just like I said, a perfect storm. We took it to them early, and they got it close a little bit later. But our guys were, again, up for the challenge and just did a really good job of finishing out the game.
LeBron Campbell at 26 points, 3 assists. Jake Harchek, 16 points, 3 assists, spreading the ball around a lot. Looks like Malachi Bell at 10 points. And you guys are sitting only a game back behind the Maroon Giants, breathing down their necks a little bit, and 12-4 overall. And you guys have a big week coming up, but you got to like how things are going right now, and excited about where things are heading forward to this week. And talk about who you're playing and how this momentum can kind of help you.
So we have a pretty simple week, Bill. We play 11-4 Mattawan team, and then we play a 12-4 Portage Central team. I could have those numbers a little bit off, but my point is we have 2 really good teams this week coming up, and we go over to Mattawan Tuesday. We play at home Thursday. So it'll be an interesting week to see what this, and like you said, what does this momentum do for us? Do we get fat and happy, or do we continue to work and try to get better? And I think I know what's going to happen. I think our guys are going to work and try to get better and stay confident but not cocky, and continue to do the things that we need to do. And I think one thing that I've always done, and we've always done in our program, is hang our hat on our defense. And I think defense, no matter how you're shooting the ball or whatever, if you can defend, you're going to keep yourself in the game. And so that's one thing that I'm very pleased with this team, is the way we defend.
Well, will be exciting to talk about those 2 games next week as things get serious in the SMAC there, and we'll do that with Coach Wickman when he comes back for Coach's Corner next week. But after this short break, we'll be back with our last Coach of the Morning here on WBCK 95.3 FM.
On 95.3 WBCK, proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
We're back with our next Coach of the Morning here on WBCK. Coach Crum, Lakeview Central Bearcats. How's it going, Coach?
It's going well.
You guys had a full week this week. You played on non-conference schedule, part of that, against Charlotte midweek. You lost 64-38. Charlotte, it's a hot team. They won 6 in a row after that game. Take them to 12-2. And then last night, you guys played a Lloyd Norwich team that you really stubbed your toe against early in the year in December, and lost 98-51 on the road. You got them in the field house this time last night. A lot closer game. You lost 67-53. Lloyd Norwich is a good team at 8-6. Talk about that Lloyd Norwich game a little bit in terms of what you can take from that in terms of improving over the season, and that's what you want to see from this team of the Bearcats, who are kind of struggling this year, but you want to see them improve.
Yeah, exactly. We showed some improvement last night. I mean, we're still working to figure things out. The guys have been working, pretty hard. It's frustrating to be on the losing end of almost all of the games, but they're hanging in there. They're wanting to get better, and they're for the most part they're working at it. So we did experience some success last night, in the fact that we lost to Lloyd Norris by more than 40 the first time around, and played pretty well for most of the game last night, which I would say is probably the first game that we've actually put two halves together in which we didn't have a half that was just horrid, So we're making progress. We had to just keep chipping away.
Turnovers and playing against their pressure in that first Lloyd Norris game in December, that was kind of why you got down so early and fell behind so much. And that's been happening to you a lot lately. Talk about that last night. Do you think you've played a little bit better in terms of turnovers? Is that what gets you in there?
Didn't turn the ball over as much last night. Still too many to, in my opinion, be successful. But definitely a reduction in the category of turnovers. So taking care of the ball a little better. Guys getting a little more confidence in that area. So last night it did make a difference. We were able to stay in the ballpark.
Talk about who stepped up for you last night against Lloyd Norris and kept you in the game there.
Well, Josh Harris has been the most consistent guy for us on both ends. He had a pretty good game last night, 24 points and 9 or 10 rebounds, can't remember exactly. But Josh has been pretty solid. He's athletic. He's active, between the boxes, and stepped up last night and pretty much carried the team.
You guys have a couple of games going forward this week. A couple of games in the conference. You're playing at Porter Central, and we just got done talking with Coach Wickman how they're a real good team this year, and then a Gull Lake team that you're going to see for the second time. You get them at home middle of the week in a Thursday game. Talk about the challenge this week of a couple of games in conference and get ready for those. So.
Yep, 2 tough games. Portage is, typically pretty solid. They're going to run their sets. They're going to play together and move the ball and force us to play defense. I think that's one of the areas that we, just have to continue to improve in, sustaining our focus and effort on the defensive end. Madawan's pretty much cut out of that same mold. They're going to be running their stuff and moving the ball, and we're just going to have to make sure that we can kind of hang in there as far as staying focused on.
Well, it looks like you're playing Gull Lake on Thursday. What I got here on the schedule, unless you got a Madawan game in the middle there. Or?
I said Madawan, but it's Gull Lake.
Yeah,
yes.
And Gull Lake can give you guys a little problem. They have a strong backcourt and real active hands, and I remember the first time around that the turnovers end up being a big thing for them in that one in terms of steals. So another thing that you have to prepare for there, and getting ready for Gull Lake, getting them at your place, the field house, you have to like that a little bit, but you want to be able to pick up the game on that side of the game and make sure you stay in the game that way. Is that right?
Got to take care of the ball, got to play defense. That's been really our focus the last couple of weeks. Not so much worry about what other teams do, because until we can do better in the areas of taking care of the ball and defending, then it's going to be hard to have a chance to win. So that's what we're focused on. We'll be in the gym as soon as I leave here. We're working out, and we're going to keep chipping away.
Yeah, you're in a position of the year where that has to be the mentality. Like you said, the wins are been hard to come by, but getting some momentum here at the end of the year is really all you can kind of work for. And we're hoping forward to a big February for the Bearcats and see if you can get hot at the right time. Thanks a lot for coming down here, Coach. And that's been our Coach's Corner for this week, and we'll be back with our coaches again next week for another edition. This has been Bill Broderick of the Battle Creek Enquirer. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week at WBCK FM 95.3.